Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. Socialism is a political and economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange that should be owned and regulated by the community as a whole. Communism is a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Inequality of wealth in Europe and USA is broadly twice the inequality of income. The top 10% have between 60% and 70% of all wealth, but merely 25% to 35% of all income. Income is what you make a year at your job, and wealth is what you already have. Almost no new entrepreneurs except one or two spectacular Silicon Valley startups can ever make sufficient new money to challenge the incredibly powerful concentrations of existing wealth. The rich are effective at protecting their wealth from taxation, that progressively the proportion of the total tax burden shouldered by those of middle incomes has risen. As a result, the burden of paying for public goods such as education, health, and housing is increasingly shouldered by average taxpayers who don't have the money to sustain them. Wealth equality thus becomes a recipe for slow, innovation-adverse, rentier economics, tougher working conditions, and degraded public services. Meanwhile, the rich get even richer and more detached from the societies of which they are a part, not by merit or hard work, but simply because they are lucky enough to be in command of capital receiving higher returns and wages over time. The American dream is the ideal that every U.S. citizen should have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative. American parents with relatively high incomes spend an average of $7,000 per year per child building social capital, which is musical lessons, sports, tutoring, chess team, theater camp, X. While poor children participate in less than $1,000 worth of those activities. Children whose parents have higher incomes spend 45 minutes per day or more with their parents than do children in the bottom third. Children whose parents attend college are more likely to be members of community organizations than children with less educated parents.
The demands to do something about this outrageous man became louder and louder.
When such a complex network of social factors determine a child's prospects, the task of ensuring equal opportunity becomes formidable. The foundations for a life of flourishing in school, work, and community seem to be some indefinite elixir made up of just those things, and a mixture which the bottom third of Americans seem to have lost access to. We should worry about the rate at which rich and poor children are diverging from each other. Children of poor Americans are disadvantaged. Their neighborhoods, parents, school, and lack of community engagement hold them back from entering adulthood with the same opportunities that rich kids have. The distinction is extremely important, for it frees supporters of capitalism from having to defend it as a caring or compassionate institution, which it is not. It's a coldly mechanical system. The problem is free market advocates think capitalism is a political system, and through rationalizations and justifications, they make excuses for the single variable profit pursuit. What must any system accomplish? At the core, it must provide a method by which its smallest unit, a household, can save the surplus of its day's work that they cannot work. When millions of Americans could not work, the right had nothing to offer that would speak to this reality. In economic contrast, the daily output of Americans is not sufficient to provide for illness, accident, or natural disaster. There must be a system of either risk pooling or income distribution. The question, though, is whether it is paid for by taxation or bond finance. Capitalism puts a premium on unbridled freedom rather than egalitarian equality. It is socialists who have been more fierce in opposition to the central problem of the post-bread and woods environment, a breakdown of system financial instrumentation, the ability of the market to finance the exchange of relatively simple tasks because of the risks attached to floating currency, and almost confiscatory taxation of capital. Capitalism did not fail in the Great Depression because profit was burdened with social concerns. It failed because the capitalist ruling class saw an opportunity to increase its profit by an increase in protective tariff, using its political muscle to push Smoot-Hawley through the Republican Congress and persuade President Hoover to sign the legislation. This was a blatant intervention in the market, not for the usual purpose of increasing government revenues, but to engineer social outcomes desired by big business. The same thing can be said of Wall Street banks last decade. Those who have benefited the most during the derivative era regime birthed by a floating dollar, who financed a mortgage mess via wholesale lending and extreme securitization by far greater problem. Denmark has a wide range of welfare benefits that they offer their citizens. As a result, they also have the highest taxes in the world. Equality is considered the most important value in Denmark. Small businesses thrive, with over 70% of companies having 50 employees or less. Finland has one of the world's best education systems, with no tuition fees, also giving free meals to their students. The literacy rate in Finland is 100%. Finland has one of the highest standards of living in the world. Like Denmark and other European countries, equality is considered one of the most important values in society. In the Netherlands, government control over the economy remains at a minimum, but a socialist welfare system remains. The lifestyle in the Netherlands is very egalitarian and organized, whereas even bosses do not discipline or treat their employees rudely. In Sweden, approximately 90% of all businesses are privately owned, but with tight regulations and the idea that all workers be part of a union and that unions are politicized and extremely powerful. This doesn't seem to drag them down. Sweden is a well-functioning and prosperous country, clean and ordered, with high-quality social services and classes as one of the most innovative nations. Sweden has a large welfare system. In Norway, the government controls certain key aspects of the nation's economy. They also have one of the best welfare systems in the world, with Norway having one of the highest standards of living in all of Europe. Canada also has a mostly free market economy, but has a very extensive welfare system that includes free health and medical care. Canadians remain more open-minded and liberal than Americans, and Canada is ranked as one of the best top 5 countries to live in by the United Nations and the Human Development Index, HDI, rankings. Ireland has arguably one of the best welfare systems in the world. Around 25% of Ireland's GDP goes towards paying for the welfare system, as compared to 15% of Americans' GDP towards American social support programs. New Zealand may not be a socialist country, but the welfare system of the country is very wide-ranging, offering support for housing, unemployment, health, childcare, and even education as well. Therefore, New Zealand has many of the characteristics of a socialist country, even while remaining officially free market. Germany is one of the primary economic leaders of Europe, yet they have social programs and financial regulation. They don't prosecute their poor, nor do they hate their rich. There are ways to fix capitalism, however, the solutions are too radical for conservatives. But you cannot have socialism without capitalism without socialism. They turn into communism and fascism. However, I feel like there's a lot of socialist factors that aren't too radical for conservatives that would fix capitalism to a point where it works for everyone and includes the American dream.